This week I'm going to take you on a brief tour of the inside of the Placer County Sheriff's Office in Auburn, California. We're going to look at some history, we're going to look at some of the specialized assignments, and some other things. So let's have a look inside and I'll show you around. Come on. So here we are inside the middle, the very center of the Placer County Sheriff's Department. And I talked about history. This department was actually founded and elected their first sheriff in the year 1851. So this goes back a long way. But now, one of the reasons I love the Placer County Sheriff's Department is because of all the different things you can do if you work here. Like the mounted unit. If you love horses and you love law enforcement, Placer County Sheriff's Department has a mounted unit. These mounted officers and their horses show up at all kinds of events around town, but they're also used a lot in search and rescue. There's also a dive team. I know there are at least 9 major lakes inside of Placer County, including Lake Tahoe, which is in Placer County's jurisdiction. So because of that, Placer County owns several law enforcement patrol boats, and they have the dive team, which is usually involved in swift river rescues and different kinds of rescue situations that people find themselves in. The EOD team, these are the guys that have to decide whether to clip the red wire or the blue wire. And this can be a little bit hairy, but they get a lot of training. They get a lot of training from the federal government, and they have a lot of great equipment, including robots and bomb disruptors and bomb suits that hopefully work. We have the Honor Guard. The Honor Guard are the most spit and polished unit of the Sheriff's Department. They're used for ceremonial purposes. You'll see them at major events in the county, but also, and unfortunately, at law enforcement funerals. We'll send our Honor Guard out to represent us. The SWAT team, also known as the SET team in Placer County, these are the guys that you call when there's big trouble. So if it's something that beyond what the patrol officers can handle, the SET team goes out, they take care of business. Their goal is to save lives, and usually they do that because they have an overwhelming amount of force available to them. And that usually starts with our next group, which is the hostage negotiation team. The hostage or critical incident negotiation team does their best to talk a suspect out of a situation, to bring a peaceful conclusion to some very stressful event, usually involving weapons, sometimes barricaded suspects. These folks are experts in negotiation. Everybody loves our canine unit, some of our former dogs, but they are used for a number of things. Search and rescue again, and if you can imagine all of the forest area and the wooded area, the mountainous terrain that we have in Placer County, the dogs are used for search and rescue. They're used for handler protection and the apprehension of criminals. They can be sent into a building where there's a criminal hiding. Dogs can sniff them out. They have great noses. And they're also used to locate narcotics, contraband, and explosives. They're very well-trained dogs with very well-trained handlers. One of the most frequent questions I hear is whether or not the dogs live with the officer that they're paired up with. And yes, the dogs do live with them and they're part of their family. And they stay with them even after the doggy retires. And that's a summary of some of the special units that are here inside the Sheriff's Department. And again, it's one of the reasons that this is such a great agency to work for. I say that not only because I work here, but because it's true. Okay, now we're upstairs on the 2nd floor and we're right outside the Sheriff's office. Here on the wall is a picture of all the former sheriffs of Placer County. And I mentioned that this county was incorporated in 1851, and that's when we got the first sheriff. Well, these are pictures of all the sheriffs and all of that throughout the history of the county that have served right here in Placer. One of our historians, Bill Summers, he told me about Deputy Sheriff Crutcher, and he was actually appointed by Sheriff King. And back in 1859, Deputy Crutcher is the one who shot Rattlesnake Dick. Now that's all I know, is that he shot Rattlesnake Dick, but apparently at a Raley's supermarket parking lot in Auburn, there's a marker that's off in the corner of the parking lot that actually recounts that fateful day for Rattlesnake Dick. The same sheriff, Sheriff King, also coordinated the public hanging of Joseph Bradley in 1857. So apparently Sheriff King was a busy guy. Another one of the characters of the past was Sheriff McCormick. Now, Sheriff McCormick pulled together a posse who shot the notorious murderers named Indian Charlie and Indian Bill. So if there's one thing I learned, there were a lot of people with funny nicknames running around Placer County in the 1800s. So these are some of the faces and the names and just a couple of the stories here in Placer County Sheriff's Department. So some of the folks that work here at Placer County Sheriff's Department are very into the history of law enforcement. I want to introduce you to one of the patrol lieutenants, Lieutenant Troy Mitten Sander.
Hello.
And now he is a collector of some of the memorabilia. He has actually a couple things right here in his office I wanted him to tell you about.
Well, what we have here are 3 law books that go back to the original sheriffs, back to the early or late 1800s, up to 1925-ish era. They were discovered by a janitor. They were archived, and this janitor came across them, noticed that they had handwritten notes inside them from the actual sheriffs, and this last one was one that was actually utilized by Sheriff Gum. So as we come across these pieces of history here within the sheriff's office, we try to restore them and put them in a place that they can be enjoyed by others that are coming into law enforcement and appreciate the long history we have here.
All right. Thank you, Lieutenant.
You're welcome.
This is Brian Harris, Deputy Brian Harris, probably soon to be Sergeant Brian Harris.
Oh, no.
All canine officers promote quickly.
Well, they do something around here.
That's right. So, as I mentioned, canine unit, and what's his name?
This is Ego.
Ego. So Ego is one of the, how many canine officers?
We have about 10 handlers.
So 10 handlers with PCSO. So if you get into this department, you got 10 spaces.
There you go.
You gotta wait for somebody to move out of the way first. I'm standing outside a very important room here at the Sheriff's Department. It's a place where deputies get some important training. Come on in and we'll take a look. Okay, what would a law enforcement agency be without its own indoor firing range? This is where the deputies come and requalify quarterly, that's 4 times a year. And this is where they can practice. And right now there's some range instruction going on in here. One deputy with a, looks like an M4 rifle. So this department has a lot and we like it. So come on over and check it out. Well, that's a quick look at the inner workings of PCSO, some of the things that are going on here. In the future weeks, we'll try to get some other tours or interviews with people who represent other areas of the justice system. So thanks for coming inside with me, and let's get started on week 4.